Yeah, things are going okay. I mean, we're still friends on Facebook. What is going on, guys? It is CH from Homebrew for Life here with a video on how to keep beginning brewers in the game, because I finally figured it out. This is my purpose in life. This is why I'm here. This is why I was born. This is why I was hatched from a gold fermenter. As far as comments go on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, the majority of them are from people that actually haven't even brewed their first batch of beer yet, and they want to know what to buy. And I actually know the answer to this stuff now. And I'm actually going to recommend a few other things that could help people out when they're showing passion in homebrewing. This is a list of 5, not in any particular order. They all carry the same weight, and these are the 5 biggest mistakes you can make starting out in homebrewing. Number 5, sourcing old references. Brewing methods are completely different from when I started out in 2014. I've read the books by John Palmer and Charlie Papasan. I've actually got them right here. We've all read these books. Mash in for an hour, boil for 90 minutes, lager for 36 years, hook up with the dude in the park. It's probably pretty brutal, especially if you're a chick. Ferment in primary for 14 days and another 7 days in secondary. Don't use plastic carboys. There's a lot of almost kind of fear when they're writing these books. Not fear, but they've got to fill pages. Don't siphon with your mouth. I used to siphon with my mouth all the time. Never had an infection. Just sanitize your mouth. Take a shot of whiskey. Plastic fermenters can scratch and harbor bacteria. Easy fix. Just don't scratch it. Clean it with a sponge. And if you do scratch it, you're telling me bacteria could harbor in there, but my water and Star San solution cannot? How does that make any sense? When I started brewing, plastic carboys were frowned upon, and glass was the way to go. Glass is the worst thing ever in homebrewing. There's no spigot. They're expensive. They're a nightmare to clean, but most importantly, they are dangerous as hell. If you brew with glass long enough, it's not an if, it's a when. Sooner or later, somebody that you know or you has a bad story. I mean, sure, if I already have a glass fermenter and I want to age mead or wine or something, that's fine. But if you want to do a 3-day Kavik beer, just put it in plastic. Glass would be my last option. People brew and ferment way faster now, for a number of reasons. Farming is way more efficient. The yeast game is extremely innovative and competitive. But most importantly, I just think there was a ton of old wives' tales in homebrewing that just weren't true. We made a Mexican lager video last month, and not even under pressure, and we fermented it at 65, and it was delicious. So with that, just look at newer references, newer articles, newer YouTube videos, newer books. I'm a big Brewlosophy fan, but I've seen his articles change, from 2016 to 2021 or 2012. Shout out to Brewlosophy. Come on to the Hoppy Hour. Write me back. If you're interested in a topic and you Google something and the first thing that comes up, it looks good and the content checks out, you look at the date and it's 2012. Maybe go back and find another article, scroll down a little bit and find something more relative to whatever year it is when you're watching this video. 2021. What is it? August 22nd? Number 4, making a wrong or way too expensive of a recipe. If you want your first beer to be a heady topper cologne, it's gonna cost a lot of money. Depending on what recipe you find online, you're gonna pay about 50 to 80 bucks just in hops. There are a ton of hops in that beer. I remember placing an order at my local homebrew store for a hazy with 2 dry hop schedules, maybe 5 ounces after 5 days and 5 ounces after another 5 days. The guy on the phone put the recipe together for me, and when I showed up, he was like, "This is 90 bucks. I was like, "I can't pay for this. This is just way too much money for a 5-gallon batch of beer." If you start out brewing, you're not buying hops in bulk. And if you get hooked as a homebrewer, that's one of the first things you want to do is start buying by the half pound or the pound. Get to that really fast. Or maybe you want to do a grapefruit IPA. The puree could be $30 alone and then another $30 in hops. Puree is really expensive. When you're starting out, keep your recipe around $30. If you drop $80 on a recipe and it turns out bad, you're probably not going to brew for a long time or maybe never again. Here's what you want to do. Buy 2 ounces of hops at the most. Do a blonde, pale ale, IPA, amber, or brown. All these beer styles are delicious. And the darker the beer style, the more forgiving it is. You can get away with that homebrewy, hazy, cloudy, muddy look with the darker styles. When I first started homebrewing, it was all about ambers and browns. 2 ounces of hops. You want a 1/4 ounce of Amarillo, you got a blonde ale. You want to use an ounce for a 60-minute boil, you got a pale ale. 2 ounces, you have an IPA. It's as simple as that when you're starting out.
And knowing is half the battle.
Number 3, do not let brew day turn into a party. It's a nightmare. It is my nightmare. It's cool and exciting to brew beer at first, and you want to show off the process, but you're never going to make better beer by getting drunk with 10 drunken guys. Brewing's a lot of work. It's a job. You want to have stuff written down and you want to have timers going off. You want to be watching the boil to make sure it doesn't overflow. I'm not saying brew alone, but when I brew with people nowadays, they're brewers. They know the process. They know the cleanup. They know how long it takes. They know not to get too drunk. With that, brew by yourself or brew with 1 or 2 people who are into homebrewing.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Number 2, buying the wrong system. This is the question we get the most, for sure, by far. What to buy? I know this answer now because we just brewed with a Mr. Beer kit and it's the first batch of beer I've ever had to throw out. I just could not drink it. You want to get an extract kit around $100 or partial mash kit. It will include the recipe. It's bundled up. You're going to get it for cheaper, and buy one that doesn't have a glass carboy. I would imagine most people get Mr. Beer kits as gifts, but if you're going off passion, if you buy an extract kit over a Mr. Beer kit, the chances of you sticking with homebrewing is gonna be like 1,000 times more likely. 1,000 times. That might be a lie. Subscribe to Homebrew for Life if you need more liars in your life. I don't know what the number is, but it's significant. People that start out with Mr. Beer and extract kits, the people that stick with it, it's gonna be the extract. It's gonna be the extract people. Get your extract or your partial mash kit. Brew 3 to 5 batches of beer. The next thing you're gonna wanna buy is an Inkbird. That's a very precisely, accurately thermometer, digital thermometer with temperature control. These things are spot on. The cheap metal ones are all over the map. I don't trust them at all. A calibrated thermometer is the most important tool in anybody's brew house. We'll do it from the top. Just go really fast. Number 5, number 4, number 5, number 4, number 3, number 2, number 1. 0. Quitting or taking way too much time off after your first batch. Don't give up. Do not let your first batch determine anything. If it's good beer or drinkable beer, great, good. It's only gonna get better. But if it's a bad batch, don't quit off just that batch. Do 3 batches and then quit.